You're listening to The Real Well Show with Kathy Fettke, the real estate investor's resource.
Well, it's that time of year again, the new year, when everybody's invigorated and re-energized and ready to focus on the new year. And who better to help us with that process than my business partner and life partner, Rich Fettke. Welcome to The Real Well Show, Rich.
Thank you. I wonder what episode this is for me, how many Real Well shows I've done. It's up there.
It's a lot considering The Real Well Show started around 2005. So it's almost 20 years.
Yeah. Honored to be here as always.
Yeah. And you've been coaching and helping people for much longer than that. I think when we first met in 1995, you were a personal trainer, but you were helping, you had also owned a gym, sold that business, and you were starting personal training studios in California, moved across the country. And you found that so many of your clients wanted more than just advice on how to get in better shape. So then you became a coach, over almost 30 years ago.
Yeah,
and you've been helping people. Yeah, you've been helping people get clear on what they really want in life, whether it's, in getting in better shape, whether it's building their business, having better relationships for a long time now. And you seem to know the ingredients for that. So let's focus on that today, the beginning of 2024.
Sounds awesome. Yeah. I learned the ingredients. I definitely did not have those ingredients growing up. Diagnosed hyperkinetic, which is today's ADHD, didn't even graduate with my high school class. Really thought I was a loser and always would be. And then it was bodybuilding and weightlifting that really changed things for me. I started to learn about discipline and getting focused and following through on things and setting big goals and breaking them down into small steps. So that's where my obsession with all this came, and then applied it to myself. It worked so well. I was so into it that I started to share that with my clients and then with my coaching clients. So yeah, it's been really cool. And then sharing it with Real Wealth members over the years, just did the Focused Investor webinar part 1 at the end of December. And that was all about completing your year. And it was the 18th year I've delivered the Focused Investor webinar to our membership. So it's been a pretty cool journey.
Yeah. And kind of going back to what you said about, when you were 17, you went from kind of scrawny and kicked around a little bit in school to coming back your senior year buffed and commanding respect, but also respect for yourself. And things changed for you that you ended up starting a business, and you were an award-winning bodybuilder and sold your business for a bunch of money back then. It's interesting because a lot of people don't understand the mind-body connection. When I was, 5 or 6, I was apparently dyslexic, and my mom put me in gymnastics, and there was something about the physical coordination of gymnastics that straightened out my brain. I don't know, but ever since then, I think I've been interested in that too, and making sure that my physical body was in the kind of shape that could carry my soul and my brain and everything that I need to do in life.
Yeah, it's cool. And that was just kind of an intuitive hit and just connecting that now. But there's been so much research on, I love the work of Kelly McGonigal. She's a Stanford professor, and she studied a lot of these things she wrote the, what's it called? The Willpower Instinct is her book. And so much research has been done about that mind-body connection for discipline, that we can actually develop our discipline and make it stronger, our self-discipline, our willpower to do what is best for us, that we can actually develop that. And a lot of it can come through physical commitments, getting a workout in, even just going for a walk, things like that. Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah, there are so many new studies that kind of bring to light what's already known, what mothers have known for a long time. Get some fresh air, get some exercise. It's been kind of interesting how some really highly educated people spend so much time on their brain and totally forget that they're connected to their body, and haven't spent the time investing in or even studying how to keep your body healthy so that it can carry you for a long time.
It's unbelievable. I just finished that book Outlive by Peter Attia, which was huge. It's on the shelf behind me, but up on the top shelf. And I think it's a 500-page book. It was a 15-hour audio book. But Peter Attia, what he does, he's an MD, used to be a cancer surgeon, and he was looking at what does this change? How can we stop people from getting cancer? What can we do ahead of time? And what he calls the four horsemen, everything from metabolic disease to heart disease to neurological diseases, all these different things. And just that, it's like we're finding out number one, what comes up in all the research, number one, most important thing, you think it was diet, it's exercise. Exercise is number one, diet's number two. They're both very important, but that's just, there's a physical connection, like you were saying, to one, taking care of our health for the long haul, but also what it does for our mental capacity. Yeah, it's big to be able to stay focused and be disciplined.
Yeah, so I hope as y'all are creating your New Year resolutions or goals for 2024, that something physical goal will be added on there. It usually is, but Rich, so many times people fail, if they're trying to get in better shape or lose weight or exercise. What's a way to make that more successful? And I bring this up because in that book, I think it was that book, you said that sometimes if they haven't exercised at all, literally just a walk would change their lives, right? Just a walk around the
Unbelievable.
block.
73% of the US population does not exercise.
Wow.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah.
73%. And we wonder why cancer is up and heart disease is up and diabetes is up and obesity is up. It's like, it's so simple. But, honestly, it's always just goes back to my personal training days. Start simple and small.
Mm.
Start simple and small. So many people think that I'm going to start this thing starting, January 1st, I'm going to kick it in and I'm going to train for an hour a day every single day. And it's like, you don't have to. If just commit to going for a half-hour walk, a 20-minute walk 3 times a week, come up with a way to track that, come up with a way to have accountability, maybe get a partner who's going to walk with you. It can be as simple as that for just getting started. And if you're already exercising and you're looking at, okay, I want to take it to the next level, like I'm in my countdown for 2 months until I turn 60. So I want to be in the best shape of my life when I'm 60. So, what I'm doing. I've got all these intentions and things set for what I'm going to do every single day. So if you are exercising, it's that make a bigger commitment. It's like not so much that you can't do it, but something that and that's what commitment, that's the key word right there. It's like, what is it that you're going to commit to? And then really anchor it in and almost like step over the line saying, I am going to do this. I'm not going to quit. And then set up as many things as you can do to make it easy for yourself. Working out in the morning, people are 86% more apt to work out if they do it in the morning. I know it is for me. If I'm like, I'm going to work out later on, it's like often I'll be like, oh man, I'm so tired. I'll just do it tomorrow morning. When I do it in the morning, it happens every single time.
And I'm going to give a very non-scientific description of how I think bodies work. It's like if disease comes from just stagnation. If you're sitting all day and you're not moving your body, think of it like I don't know, like you got to shake it up and move things around. Otherwise, disease can happen from just not circulating. So I
100%.
remember
Yeah.
when we first met, you just wanted to see if I could touch my toes. Now, maybe you just maybe that was just a line, whatever. But I couldn't. When I first met you, I could not touch my toes, and you were a little bit shocked and maybe a little disgusted.
Yeah, it was one of the tests I did as a physical therapist. And personal trainer. I was just seeing flexibility, different tests, and that was one of the simple tests. Yeah, can you just slowly go down and touch your toes without bending your knees much? A lot of people can't.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, and that's just kind of getting blood circulation into your brain. So that's another thing. Take just a walk that'll do wonders for your brain, and then bend over and let the blood circulate to your brain. You can bend your knees; doesn't have to be straight legged, but that just those two things will be a
Mhm.
game changer.
Yeah, and I know we're talking very physical here, a very
Yeah.
physical body because it ties in. But coming back to, I know this is the Real Wealth Show. It's about creating real wealth, having the money and the freedom to live life on your own terms. So all this carries over. What I'm trying to connect is the importance of Number one, focus and clarity. What is it that you really want? This goes back to the first book I wrote, Focus, A Guide to Clarity Achievement, back in 1998, was all about how do you get focused on what you really want? That's number one. And then how do you stay focused on it day by day, week by week, month by month, quarter by quarter, year by year? How do you do that? So that's the key. And that's what we're talking about here, starting the new year, is how do you create that clarity of focus, clarity of vision on what you really want in all different areas of your life? And then how do you commit to it, and how do you stay focused? That's huge.
So yeah, if y'all haven't watched Rich's webinars that he does one at the end of every year, and then he does one at the beginning of every year. And
Yep.
the one at the end, you can find all of these webinars on our website at realwealth.com. Just click on the Learn tab and you'll see all the topics there. And Rich's most recent webinar will be there on how to wrap up your year. And then in January, you always
Yep.
do kind of how you refocus on the coming year. So be sure to sign up for that. If you missed it, then there's the replay there for you. Take your time to go through it. We won't be able to go through all that on the show today, but Rich, you go through it in so much detail, and it's changed so many lives. People love these sessions that you do.
Yeah, January 4th is is that one. So if this show is out on before January 4th, definitely tune in. It's on a Thursday at noon. And yeah, I loved it. I'm passionate about it. I'm obviously passionate about real estate investing in business and all that, but I'm also even more passionate about helping people be their best. That's my purpose. It's my passion. It's what I've been about since I learned how to do it myself. And I still, I'm still figuring it out and still learning every single year. Me, I probably read, at least 12 to 15 books every single year on growth, on how I can get better. And, I still drop the ball. I still flake on myself and all this, but I'm much better than I used to be. And that's all that matters.
What's some of your favorite recent books?
Oh man, Arate, really good, by Brian Johnson, just came out. He created Philosopher's Notes. I've been following Brian Johnson since 2007, I think. So this is a fantastic book that just came out called Arate, which is the old Stoic saying for a flourishing life, living a flourishing life. That's a great one. Arnold's new book is really good. Be useful. That's it. Be useful. Some like 7 steps for creating an extraordinary life. So, Arnold was a big influence to me as a bodybuilder growing up, and met him a few times. And he just, not only as a bodybuilder, but as someone who has a clear vision and goes after it and gets what he wants. So that's a great one. And then I would say 10X is easier than 2X. I'm almost done with that book right now by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. They wrote Who Not How. A couple of those great ones. Be Your Future Self Now is a Ben Hardy book, but 10X is easier than 2X is also really good, not just for business, but also about really taking your life and how can you have your life be 10 times better. And it's really about letting go of the things that you don't love doing, things that you're not great at. And when you really focus on putting, the focus on those things in your life that take you to the next level, then you can 10X your life in all areas. So that's a great one too.
And I do want to say that you did meet Arnold a few times, and he wrote a testimonial for your first book, or your
First Dream Success. Yeah, I was so honored on that. Yeah, it took me about, what was that, 3 months to get him to get back to me and everything, but he did, and gave me an awesome endorsement. So I was stoked on that.
Yeah, and for those who'd like to see how much you looked like him when you were bodybuilding, how can people find your famous YouTube video?
Oh man, what is it? If you go to YouTube and you type in 480 bench slap, I think it is, because my friends are slapping the crap out of my face to get me motivated. And then after that, it's like, it shows me 6 months later, where I was 270 pounds when I did the 480 pound bench. And then that's where the commitment came in. I knew I had a bodybuilding contest 6 months later. So I lost 70 pounds of body fat and got ready for that show. And Yeah, those were good days. It really made me who I am, and I learned so much from bodybuilding and that discipline and the follow through, and knowing that you're going to be up on stage in some little tiny bikini and with thousands of people looking at you is very much a motivator to be ready on time on a certain date. So I've carried that over. I think that sometimes I have these nightmares when I'm preparing for something, like you and I are writing our book right now that's coming out next summer, and I have we have a deadline of our manuscript by the end of January. So I have these dreams sometimes that I'm on stage, I'm fat, I'm out of shape, I'm pork white and all this stuff. And it's like, it's the old dreams of the old subconscious. That's like, don't not be ready. You got to be ready on show day. And so it's like, if I feel behind on something, I often have that dream, which is really a nightmare. So you can see how much of an influence it was on me to have that goal.
Okay, so coming back to how to really make 2024 your best year yet, you said the first thing you said is make it simple, make it doable, because I know living with you that that's one of the things you say is success breeds success. So if you get success in small things, then you'll take the next step and do a little more. If you take a big goal and fail, then you're just like, whatever, I didn't want that anyway, or I can't do it. So
Totally.
that's the first one is make it doable.
Hmm.
And so that you create that part of your brain that says, I can do this, and gets addicted to it a little bit. What's next?
Yeah. I mean, at first, a lot of times your brain says, I don't know if I can do that. You got that inner
Mhm.
gremlins that says, you can't do that. You can't accomplish that. So it's like starting there. It's like you have to, and this is one of the things I learned from Dan Sullivan, who founded Strategic Coach, is it really starts with commitment. You can't wait until you have the confidence or the clarity or anything like that. It's commitment's number one. When you say, I'm committing to this, that's number one. So I think that's a huge part of that. And it's so many people I talk to, they say, oh man, it would be nice to be in shape, or I wish I had that much money, or I wish I could, have the down payment for a house, or wish I had a portfolio, and all these things. And it's like the people that we know that have those things took the commitment and the discipline and the focus. So, I love that. And the answer to that is like a lot of people I've met who say, I wish I had that or whatever. Then they follow that up, but I'm just not that self-disciplined. I don't have that discipline. I never have. It's the way I am. My family's like that. And that's just bull, because we
Yeah.
can develop our own discipline. Start small. And when you start doing things, it's called Hebb's Law. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So in your brain, each time you do something that is hard to do, that you don't want to do, it's like you getting into the cold plunge. I see you get into our 40-degree
Uh,
cold plunge. You don't want to do it. You never want to do it, but you
mm-mm.
do it because it's strengthening your willpower. It's making you more committed, more focused. You get that great high afterwards too. But that's what it comes down to. So stop saying you want something and start saying, this is what I'm committed to and this is what I'm going to do. And it ties into the start small, come up with one little thing and say, for the next 30 days, I'm going to walk for 20 minutes 3 times a week, and just do that. That's it. You don't have to do any more than that. Then after you've done that for 30 days, then you say, wow, your confidence is going to go up. Your belief in yourself, your willpower has developed. You've got new neurotransmitters that are fired and neurons connecting that go into that part of your brain that is all about willpower and self-discipline. This is Kelly McGonigal's work. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I am a little bit have more willpower than I think. And all of a sudden you
Mhm.
say, okay, now this next month, I'm going to start walking for 40 minutes, 4 times a week, and just commit to that. So whatever it might be, and it could be walking and exercise. It could be getting out of bed before right when the alarm goes off. It could be getting to bed at a certain time. It could be putting your phone away when your kids are around and your family's around, all that stuff. It's like, make one little commitment, stick to that, build your willpower and your self-discipline, and then start adding on. So I think that's a huge part of it.
And those limiting beliefs, listen, we are not those limiting beliefs. Those are thoughts that were given to us from our parents or our friends or society or whatever.
Hmm.
And the first step is really hearing it and noticing a thought like, I hear this a lot, like, I'm just not disciplined, or I'm just, that's not how I am, or I was born this way.
Yep.
And when you hear yourself say things like that, stop and just question it and notice it, and maybe flip it. Like, what
Yeah.
if the thought flipped to, I am disciplined?
You
Uh,
know, it's like, and you've heard me do it so many times with people, and it's like I'm kind of a pain in the butt when I do it, you know, because people will say like, "Yeah, I'm not good at that," and I'll be like, "Well, that's a good affirmation."
yeah,
You know, it's like, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm learning how to be better at that," and
yeah.
they catch it. So it's about that awareness, that self awareness of be careful of that inner dialogue. It's huge. I
Yeah,
mean, we know it, but it's so true.
and I would really like to encourage people to put on their list of 2024, goals, is to just research a little bit more about your body, because again, there's a lot of depression out there, a lot of lethargy, and oftentimes that will come from our diet. And just the first thing is grains, and particularly wheat, can really give brain fog, and sugar for sure. So just the more you learn and realize, oh, I just don't have brain fog. It might be something simple I can change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's what they spray those grains with, right? That's the
Yeah.
huge things, whether it be rice or wheat or anything. It's like, yeah, really folic acid.
The minute Krista, our daughter, gets off of wheat, which we all love and it's in everything, she jumps out of bed early in the morning and is focused. But if
Yeah, she feels great. She feels happy. She's motivated. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's the basic. Got to take care of this vessel
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, you know what? It comes down to even like I was thinking about it this morning. Like even with our financial house, getting that in order. It takes focus, it takes discipline, it takes willpower. It doesn't just happen. You know, if you want to build a solid portfolio, if you want to make sure that you're ready for retirement, if you want to pay less taxes, all these things, when it comes back to the wealth side of things, to the financial wealth, that takes a ton of discipline. You know, it's building your wealth team. It's consistent, and really honestly, it's consistent daily action. It's like, you know, I invest at least a half hour a day on our financial, you know, keeping things on track, reviewing things, you know, getting back to people, getting back to our tax attorney or our CPA, going over our portfolio, all that stuff. So again, all this stuff comes back to discipline and focus. You know, it's it. So that's the biggest thing I can, you know, I want to share is around 2024. If you want to make it your best year yet, it's about getting clear on what you want and then really developing that discipline to focus and follow through.
absolutely. But not too many things, right? Not too many
Yeah.
things at once. How many things should we be focused on that we, in life, that we really, really want to change, or really want to be great at, or
I
improve?
mean, this is research back too. It's the rule of three. You know, I didn't even know it was research back, but I just knew for me, I would get overwhelmed when I tried to focus on more than three goals. So long ago, when I wrote Extreme Success, I wrote a chapter called The Rule of Three. And it was don't have more than three major goals because the brain gets confused. And now there's a whole bunch of research, especially from the University of Oregon. They did a big research study on this, and they found that the most that the human brain can focus on is four things. And that's like the most effective, you know, smartest brains out there. So I've always been a big advocate of having no more than three major goals, having no more than three major new habits that you're putting into place, because the brain gets confused. It's like it's the combination thing. So if you have three, your brain can kind of combine it, sequence it like ABC, CBA, BCA. It's like a combination lock. When you add, there's like six different ways you can combine those things. But when you add a fourth, all of a sudden it goes up to, I forget what, I think it's like 16 different variations. You add a fifth, it goes up to 120 different variations. That's why combination locks have usually more than three numbers
Mm.
on them, you know? So it's just like that. So basically using the rule of three, yeah, you're right on point with that. And it's like, what are the three most important goals for you to focus on in 2024? And you can have a whole bunch of goals, get them all out of your head, written down onto paper, and you can look at them consistently. But for your big three, know what are your big three for 2024? What are those big things when you get to the end of the year? And then I love to work backwards with that. I love to come back and say, if these are my big outcomes I want for this year, and I love to have maybe one professional, two personal, or maybe two professional, one personal, kind of get a mix and a balance there. But it's like, and I think it's really good to have like one physically, one for work, and one for love, something, and what's important to you personally, and for that connection type thing. And so what are those big three goals? And then you take your annuals, and you, at the beginning of every quarter, so on January 1st, you say, okay, what am I going to do this quarter over the next 3 months for goal A? What do I want to accomplish for goal B? And what do I want to accomplish for goal C? And then you do that each quarter. And then so you kind of chunk it down. You take that big annual goal, you chunk it down to your quarterly goal. And then I take it the next step. Every month I look at, okay, if this is my quarterly goal, what am I going to do this month toward it? Each week I start my week and say, what's my game plan here? What is it I'm going to accomplish for goal A this week? And then every morning I'll take a look and say, okay, these are my big goals. I review them every single morning. It takes 15 minutes tops to look over these goals and your plans and all this stuff. And then you come back and you say, okay, what about today? What am I going to do today? What's the one thing by the time I get to the end of this day that I'm going to do for goal A? What's the one thing I'm going to do toward goal B? And what's the one thing toward goal C? And then surprise, surprise, you get to the end of the year and you're like, wow, I accomplished my big three most important things that were the life changers this year. So it's like, again, chunking it down, the big things, making it really stupid simple.
And for years, it would just be handwritten for you, and checking off boxes and so forth, looking at your binder. And but what kind of technologies can people use to simplify this process?
It can go two different ways. Like, me, I'm super OCD, and it's like I kind of solved my ADHD with OCD. So I go over the top. I use an app called Done, Done, that our daughter Krista turned me on to. I just thanked her this morning for it. It's just an amazing app that just tracks your habits. So you put in what are the habits that you want to track. You put in those big three habits, and then it can have little reminders. I have mine at 6 p.m. That'll give a little chime on my phone. I'll look down and I'll say, did you do this? I'm like, oh man, I almost forgot. And it could be as simple as taking my supplements or getting a workout in. So that's a habit tracker. You can write it down. There's so many different habit trackers and things like that. Having a coach, I think, is a great idea, where you're checking in with your coach once a week as well. But then there's people like you, Kath, who is, you're more free flowing, and you just you don't use all this stuff. You don't do the check boxes and everything, but you still have your rituals. You have your intentions. One of those is getting a workout in every day, some type of movement, right?
Well, I have to. I'm kinesthetic. I need that. I know that. I think my work has been over the years knowing myself and what makes me operate best. And I know I need fresh air. I know I need nature and exercise. And the kids know it, you know it. So I do have support of the family. If any of you notice that I'm not myself or more frustrated or irritated more quickly, you know that either I had coffee. So I love coffee, but it's not good for me. I get anxious and don't feel like I can handle everything. But also, if I don't get out and exercise, and usually a sweaty exercise really helps me to release tension and pressure. But even if it's just a walk outside in the sunshine, or doing some stretching on the lawn, whatever, in the middle of the day is a game changer. So I think I've learned over time what I need every day. And I'm pretty good about just sticking with rituals. Yeah. Just knowing. Another thing is just, I know what foods make me feel good and not good. Like I said, I love caffeine. I wish I could drink it, but I can't. So I had to find.
You love caffeine for about half hour.
Yeah. And it really, I get grouchy and mean, and I'm not myself. And the same with, I love sourdough bread. It's my favorite thing in the world, but it does cause, well, first of all, I have an allergic reaction. It causes coughing, but, that cloudy headed feeling that so many people feel, like they don't know why they can't think clearly. And I'm telling you, look at your diet first, diet and exercise. The American diet is, like you said, there's a lot of additives. It's not that wheat maybe 100 years ago was bad for you, but today, the way it's processed.
And different in the US too, compared to Europe, they're not allowed to spray folic acid over everything in Europe, and that's why you
Yeah.
can go there and you can have bread over there or pasta and it doesn't, you don't feel like crap afterwards. It's, just when you're in the US. So, and it's coming back to that in the whole discipline and focus and willpower thing. That's a key thing. It's like if there was a pill that you could take that would give you more discipline and more focus and more energy, would you take it if it was free? It's like, and it's called exercise. It's called eating right. It's really simple, and getting enough sleep,
Hmm.
really simple. It's like, it's going to have you more discipline and you're going to be more on track with your goals. Just like I was saying when I'm not on track, if we're out at a conference and I'm having too many drinks and not able to eat good, healthy foods as well, I'm just off. And when I come home, I'm not as focused. I'm not going to get in here into my office and spend that half hour on our financial order, and going over all that stuff. So it all comes back to, everything ties together.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's almost like you're always chasing the bus or whatever when you're off, so you just
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Whereas, when you're doing that, when you're eating well, exercising, taking care of your mental health, then you're on the bus before everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
And
right.
this is go over all this in the webinar. I know a lot
Mhm.
of our members at Real Wealth some of them have done every year for the last 18 years or last 17 years. And I had someone just reach out and say, "Hey, is your webinar going to happen again this year?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it's like, he didn't see the email for it. So, we're going to go over all this in that webinar, and then an hour long we did the one we did for the year completion is about closing out your year, looking at what you learned, how you grew. It's really, you walk away with a 1-page plan or 1-pager that's like, this is what your year in 2023. And then the one on January 4th is all about what do you want to create in 2024 and beyond. And we go all the way out to 2034 for creating that clear vision, your clear plan, what you really want, what's important to you, and then set intentions. So the webinars are great for like taking that to the next level and setting yourself up to win. And then we should also talk about the retreat.
Yeah, yeah. Check out, first of all, getting a coach. I highly recommend that. Rich and I were both trained at the Coaches Training Institute. They have a website. You can find a good coach there. There's lots of ways to find a coach, but that kind of accountability, even if it's just someone in your family, like Krista and I just did a 21-day cleanse, and having her next to me doing it with me helped us both get through it. But the next level is every year now, we will be doing our New Year retreat. It's very small, 14 people
Yeah.
at our home in Malibu. And that's a great way to get a lot of clarity. We spend 2 days, the first day really just getting super clear, and the second day putting in the systems and processes in place so that you stick with it. And then we have a few calls throughout the year, and there's so much group support. So you can find out about that at MalibuMastermind.com.
Yep. MalibuMastermind.com. It's awesome. Man, the people who've gone through it in the past retreats, just like, I mean, if you go to MalibuMastermind.com, you can see the testimonial video on different people and their reaction and everything. It's just so cool. And we just did what we do is 6 months after, and then a year later, we do a check-in call with everyone, a Zoom meeting. And we just talk about how they're doing with those major 3 intentions that they set and the clarity. And it's just awesome to hear the stories of what people have created and what they've done because of the power of focus and because of the power of discipline and because of the power of that group support. You get these like-minded people who are successful. They come in. That's what I love about having only 14 people there, is because you can get that intimacy, that real connection with other like-minded people. And you end up becoming, good friends who support each other for the long haul.
And we have gourmet organic catering, so it's delicious, and we'll have beautiful hikes and walks on the beach and stuff. So we'll have a lot of fun too. But it's a powerful time. So we hope that you'll be one of the 14.
I hope so.
All right, Rich. Well, it's always so fun to have you here. I know that having you on is always a highlight for our listeners. So thank you for being here with us today on The Real Wealth Show.
Thank you. It's always fun to be here.
And thank you all for joining us here on The Real Wealth Show. Again, you can go to realwealthshow.com. Just click on the Learn tab, and you'll find our past webinars and our current and future ones. Have a wonderful start of your new year. It's going to be a great year.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, go to realwealthshow.com.